The moment he said it, time stopped moving around me. The rolling suitcases, the departure announcements, the echo of footsteps on polished floors, all of it faded into a dull hum. My husband didn't look back when he said, "Don't follow me." His voice wasn't angry. That was the part that cut the deepest. It was calm, clipped, almost practiced. I stood there at the airport terminal, fingers curled tight around the handle of my bag, watching his back disappear into the crowd, as if I were a stranger who had simply taken up too much space. For a long second, I wondered if I had misheard him. Airports are loud. They swallow words whole. But the way his shoulders stiffened before he walked away told me I hadn't imagined it. He meant every syllable. I stayed exactly where I was because something inside me, some quiet instinct I'd ignored for years, told me to wait. Not chase, not plead, just watch. We had been married for 9 years. Long enough for habits to replace affection, for routines to pass as intimacy. I told myself that was normal. Everyone did. But lately, he had been distant in a way that felt deliberate. His phone never left his hand, always angled away from me. Work trips multiplied, explanations grew thinner. Still, I packed his bags without complaint, kissed his cheek goodbye, and told myself love meant patience. This trip was supposed to be different. He'd insisted I come along, said it would be good for us to get away. The words sounded right, but his eyes never softened when he said them. At the airport, he walked ahead of me the entire time, like he didn't want to be seen beside me. When we reached security, he slowed just enough to lean in and say those 4 words that split my world in half. "Don't follow me." I watched him vanish into the priority lane. My boarding pass trembled in my hand. I could have followed him anyway. I was his wife. I had every right, but I didn't move. I stood there with my bag digging into my palm, breathing slowly, forcing my face into stillness. Silence can be a shield if you let it. After a few minutes, I stepped aside and sat near a cafe, pretending to scroll through my phone. That's when I noticed the email notification. It wasn't addressed to me, but my account was still logged into his tablet, a small oversight he'd never bothered to correct. The subject line was short, affectionate, and unmistakably intimate. My chest tightened, but I didn't open it right away. I ordered a coffee instead. I needed my hands steady. When I finally read it, everything made sense in the quietest, most devastating way. There was another woman, not a fling, not a mistake. Plans were mentioned. Flights coordinated. The terminal we were in named like a shared secret. He hadn't wanted me to follow him because he wasn't traveling alone. I was the inconvenience he hoped to shed before boarding. I didn't cry. That surprised me. Instead, a strange calm settled over me like clarity after a storm. I closed the email, finished my coffee, and checked my own boarding pass. Same destination. Different seat. Different future. I walked through security at my own pace, heart steady, eyes open. On the plane, I watched couples settle in together, whispering and laughing. I wondered if that was how we used to look. Somewhere over the clouds, grief finally found me, but it was muted, contained. I let it sit beside me like an old ache. By the time we landed, I had already decided something important. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. The hotel lobby was bright and impersonal. I checked in under my name, then watched from a distance as he arrived later, his hand resting possessively on a woman's back. She was younger, confident, unaware. I felt a flicker of pity for her, but it passed. This wasn't about her. It was about the man who thought silence meant weakness. Over the next 2 days, I observed everything. I saved receipts. Took photos, recorded dates and times. I smiled when I passed him in hallways he didn't expect me to be in. His confusion was brief, replaced quickly by annoyance. He still didn't think I mattered enough to explain himself. That was his final mistake. Back home, I moved quietly. I spoke to a lawyer before I spoke to him. I transferred my share of the savings into an account he couldn't touch. I forwarded the emails to myself, backed them up twice, and printed them neatly. When I finally sat across from him at our kitchen table, I placed the stack of papers between us without a word. He went pale. For the first time in years, he looked afraid. He started to talk, to justify, to rewrite history, but I held up my hand. Silence again. It felt powerful now, intentional. I stood, picked up my bag, the same one from the airport, and walked out of the house we'd shared. At the airport weeks later, flying alone this time, I passed the spot where everything had begun. I paused just for a moment, then kept walking. Some endings don't need closure, they just need distance. If you want to hear more stories like this, stay close. There's always another truth waiting.